A very short video about the present value. My name is Dr. Larissa Adamians. I am a visiting assistant clinical professor at Indiana University, the Kelley School of Business. I'll give you a little insight about the present value. It is, the crux of everything we do in the financial markets for valuation of any asset. So having said that, let's get started. If you watched my previous video on the future value, you know that future value is equal to present value times 1 plus our rate to our time. Now we're going to rearrange this formula so that we say present value is equal to the future value divided by 1 plus our rate to time. So it's going to answer the question, what is the future payment worth to us today? And often we know what future payments are going to be, and we want to know what's a fair price for that investment today. So let's take a look at how do we actually calculate this, and then we can talk about some relationships that we will see. So we need a future value, we need time to maturity, and we need an interest rate. And we can also call this our discount rate. So let's say we are going to be paid $1,000 in 4 years from now, and let's say that we have a 8% interest rate. Our future value then becomes 1,000 divided by 1 plus our interest rate to our time period. And we'll generate $735.03. It is going to be a lower value because we are discounting back that cash flow from the future. So we would always rather have the $1,000 today as opposed to the $1,000 in the future. So that's why they're not the same value. It is worth more to us today than it is in the future. And that's why it's worth only $735. So let's go ahead and play around with these numbers so we can start to see some relationships. So now let's say instead of 4 years, we're going to put it out for 6 years. What I believe we are going to see is that our future value, our present value is going to drop. This should be a present value, and I apologize for that. Present value. And we see a drop because it is worth less to us today because we don't get paid out for 6 years as opposed to 4. So we're going to say increase time, decrease present value. Let's do this again and change our time to maturity one more time. Oh, that's always irritating. Okay. So copy, paste. So now instead of 6 years, let's drop it down to 2 years. And you'll see that it jumps up our present value because it is worth more to us today to be paid out in 2 years. So we're going to say a decrease in time generates an increase in present value. So we're going to say that there is an inverse relationship between time and present value. So let's do this again. And we're going to tinker around with not our time this time, but our discount rate. So we have our base. Now this time we're going to increase our discount rate. We're going to increase it by 4%. So we go from 8% to 12%. And you'll notice that we have a decrease in our present value. And that's one of the reasons why our discount rate is often referred to as a hurdle rate. The higher the rate, the lower the payment, the more of a hurdle it becomes. So we're going to say an increase in rate as a decrease in present value. So let's do this again. Let's see if this relationship, because it looks like it's going to be an inverse relationship. Let's see if that holds to be true. So we've got 4 years. Instead of 12%, we're going to drop it to 4%. And we're hopefully will see an increase in our value. And voila, we have an increase. So we can say our decrease in rate is going to lead to an increase in present value. So we are going to then say that there is an inverse relationship between our rate and present value. And this concludes our very quick discussion on present value.